it's cool because you see some indie companies have established themselves as professional companies, and they use young, hungry talent, and they put on good shows, and they built their fan base to where they might be running once a month, but they're consistently running a dozen shows a year, once a month, you know, packing 500 people into a local community center, or a rec center or something. And that's nothing to sneeze at. I'm not dismissive of independent, but like I said, just because you play flag football on the weekend, that's not the same as being in the NFL. You know, you can have a great flag football league where everybody's very talented, and it's well run and organized, but at the end of the day, you're not in the NFL. And it just comes down to the professionalism, the amount of money that's involved, and the size and scope of the production. And just a little reminder for you guys, men and women that are on the independents, if your dream is to be on television, whether it's AEW or WWE, there's a lot that goes into learning how to work television versus working a live show, definitely versus working an indie show. And there's a phrase called indie-rific, and it's people that their wrestling is tailored to like the independent scene, and they do a lot of things that you just should not do on television, and it definitely wouldn't be tolerated like in WWE. There's certain like this indie minded stuff. Sometimes the accessories people want to use for their characters, like that's really juvenile. That's indie. Or
Oh, okay, okay.
or the comedic spots that people want to do, like no, we don't do that here. That's for the indies. You want to do ha ha and make people laugh. Not to say that there's not a place for comedy, you know at a major company, but there's a lot less of it, and it's done differently. So this just the way the mindset on the independent scene versus a major company. Like I said, it just comes down to the same as somebody who's you know their weekend softball league or flag football league versus getting called up to the major
Yeah,
league.
yeah, pickup game versus the NBA.
Right? Yeah, yeah. It's way different, and you might think you're ready for that next level, and then you get there and you go, "Oh, there's a lot I don't know," and you have to learn it. And the only way to learn it is to learn it from people who have done it or who have been there.
So who are some of the people who hipped you to do this move to the hard cam when you started?
Oh man. So for me, I was very fortunate that in South Florida, when I was coming up, there was a lot of local TV.
Okay.
So there was TV. I think Cousin Junior had a promotion in Ocoee, Florida, and he had like Time Warner Cable. They had like a whole. I don't know how he got that. I still don't know. Like for a little while, IPW had a local TV thing. I did something with Championship Wrestling from Florida, where they taped a bunch of episodes at Miami Highlight, and I was on like four of them, and those things were on the Sunshine Network in perpetuity, forever. So around Florida, I got to work quite a bit of independent TV, and luckily for me, in Florida, you also have an influx of guys who worked at WCW, or you have guys who were named guys who did TV, and they a lot of the time were cool enough to take those of us that had potential or were being featured and would sharpen us up and say, okay, that's the hard cam. You want to do it to that, or when you cut your promo, you got 2 minutes, and you got somebody behind the camera that's going to count you down to let you know when to wrap it up. So I got a lot of those lessons on the independents from OGs like Steve Keirn, Ricky Santana. There was a bunch of people that I'm drawing a blank now, but I was fortunate that I got a lot of that seasoning before. And then I got sent to Puerto Rico, where I got to wrestle for our IWA, and that was a promotion. That was a territory. We worked 5 nights a week and did TV 1 night a week. So again, there I was getting more seasoning, learning how to work for the camera. I had who was a booker back then? Dutch Mantel. He gave me a lot of insight on how to work for TV, how to, and then once I got to WWE, that was a whole, Vince McMahon says, you make your money here, and even in developmental, before getting called up, Jody Hamilton ran Deep South, him and Bill DeMott. So we would do TV, I think, on Thursday nights, Wednesday nights or Thursday nights. And then the next day, we would watch the matches and we would critique everything and talk about who did what and explain. So,
Oh, like everybody in production?
no, not production, just all the talent.
Oh, okay.
Because it was Deep South, so it was independent.
Yeah.
So it was not a big production crew, but we would take the TV from the night before and we would all get our chairs and we would all sit down and come in and we'd have our coffee or whatever. And we'd watch all the matches from the night before.
Okay.
And after each match, we'd have, like I said, Bill DeMott and Jody Hamilton and the talent. And we'd say, okay, let's talk about that match. What was good? What was bad? What happened here? How do you do this better? How do you not do that?
Oh,
And we'd have that conversation.
That's real life game tape, man.
Yeah, in real time. Because from there, you're going up to TV. So you're supposed to be getting prepared for TV there.